operating system fingerprinting is basically a process that is used to determine what operating system the remote target is running. And then our goal ultimately being that we can determine vulnerable systems or vulnerabilities within that specific operating system to exploit. So one thing to keep in mind about OS fingerprinting, and a method that is very frequently used, is how the OSs implement the TCP/IP stack. And the basic idea behind this is there is an RFC, or request for comments, out there that outlines the community deemed standard for how TCP/IP should be implemented. Well, because one person may not like something about it, or this company chooses to do it this way, each individual operating system has its own unique implementation of TCP/IP. So an exact same query sent to one machine will respond differently from the exact same query sent to a different machine. So this usually allows for us to enumerate information about the operating system based on the scans that we use. So if we send a TCP request with a certain flag to this system, and it's programmed to work a certain way, say BSD for example, versus Windows, then we're going to get two different responses, and therefore it will allow us to either eliminate or identify the operating system that might be running there. So it's definitely a useful method in determining that information. We can also use port enumeration or service enumeration to determine that. One of the things that you'll find on nearly every operating system is that when you perform a default install of that operating system, certain services will be installed by default, things that are needed for that operating system to work properly. And when you install a service, especially if it uses any kind of network activity, then it's going to be associated to a port number, which is probably going to be opened. So a great example of this are the ports 137, 138, 139, and 445, which all combine together to produce a Windows 2000 or newer operating system, because only Windows 2000 utilizes all four of these ports. And on a relatively frequent basis, you can actually look at any combination of these, such as 139 and 445. The combination of just those two can identify a certain version of Windows, such as Windows XP or Server 2003. So there are lots of ways to actually fingerprint an operating system, and even more once the operating system has been configured and various software packages have been installed. A lot of this is actually just common sense or intuitive. For example, if MS SQL is running on a certain port, you can pretty much bet that that's not a Linux, Macintosh, or BSD-based system because it's running a Microsoft SQL product.